Hello everyone. This video presents a notable event that happened on each day from the past week in history. On January 26, 2001, college lacrosse player and coach Diane Whipple was attacked by a pair of Presa Canarios, dogs that generally weigh well over 100 pounds. Despite being a world-class athlete, the 33-year-old Whipple was killed by the fierce canines. While the long and low dachshund is often regarded as the fiercest of dogs, the little wieners are not likely to kill a human. But what kind of dogs are likely to attack people? Dogs big enough and aggressive enough to present real danger to people, according to the MKP Law Group, include pit bulls with about 66% of fatalities, Rottweilers accounting for 10% of fatal attacks, and German Shepherds with 4.6% of deaths. Mixed breed dogs come next. As far as non-fatal bites, unknown leads the pack, followed by pit bulls, mixed breed, and German Shepherds. On January 27, 1961, the Soviet Navy proved how dangerous the lives of submariners can be when the Whiskey-class submarine S-80 managed to sink with all hands without any outside help. The S-80 was in a prolific class of submarines with 236 built between 1950 and 1960. About 249 feet long with a normal crew of 52, the subs were powered by the familiar diesel-electric combination motors. On the fateful day, S-80 was patrolling the Barents Sea, using its snorkel to allow the use of the diesel engines while submerged. Someone forgot to engage the anti-icing feature on the snorkel valve, which froze, allowing water to rush down the snorkel when the sub dipped a bit too deep. The onrushing water warped the shutoff valve, and the sub was doomed, flooding and taking all 68 men aboard to a watery grave. On January 28, 1960, the NFL expanded from 12 to 13 teams with the addition of the Dallas Cowboys. Those same Cowboys that would later be dubbed America's team would finish a dismal 0-11-1, narrowly avoiding all losses. The other teams in the league included the Eagles, Browns, Giants, Cardinals, Steelers, Redskins, Packers, Lions, 49ers, Colts, Bears, and Rams. The Eagles beat the Packers in the title game, and believe it or not, a game was played between the Browns and the Lions for third place, called the Playoff Bowl, won by the Lions. Games on TV were not in color and not shown in hometown areas, and of course, there was no instant replay or slow motion. Some players still wore no face mask, and others sported a single bar face mask. No domed stadiums protected players and fans from the weather, there was no artificial turf, and the NFL season lasted only 12 games. On January 29, 2009, Governor of Illinois Rod Blagojevich was successfully impeached by the state legislature and booted from office for the crime of soliciting appointment as the replacement as U.S. Senator for President-elect Obama. Blagojevich was convicted and served 8 years in prison for his crime. About 18 governors have suffered sexual scandals or criminal charges resulting in being forced from office. Spiro Agnew of Maryland, while serving as vice president, was charged with taking bribes and kickbacks while governor of Maryland and became the second U.S. VP to resign in 1973. Virginia Governor Bob McDonnell resigned in 2014 and with his wife was convicted for conspiracy to commit fraud. Oregon Governor John Kitzhaber was compelled to resign in 2015 due to his fiancée using her connections to enrich herself and her private clients. On January 30, 1968, the North Vietnamese and the Viet Cong guerrillas launched surprise attacks all over South Vietnam during a supposed ceasefire period to celebrate the Asian Lunar New Year known as Tet. At this point in the Vietnam War, Americans were getting a bit war-weary and were repeatedly told by their leaders that the U.S. and South Vietnam were winning the war. The uncharacteristically massive scale of the enemy attack destroyed American public belief that the war was going well, or perhaps was even winnable. The North and VC involved in the widespread attacks numbered about 600,000 against around 1.3 million U.S. and South Vietnamese troops. Despite the shock of the attack and initial success, the U.S. and South Vietnam turned the tide and inflicted over 111,000 casualties on the Communists against perhaps 50,000 Allied casualties. On January 31st, 1846, the result of the Milwaukee Bridge War was the formation of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Fought over a bridge being built over the Milwaukee River, two of the three settlements in the area, Juneautown and Kilburntown, were highly competitive with each other and, along with Walker's Point, were incorporated as the village of Milwaukee in 1839. The intense rivalry between the leading citizens of each area boiled over in 1845 when one of the several bridges in the village was struck by a schooner, sparking rumors of intentional ramming. The Kilburntown people on the west side dismantled their half of the hated bridge, enraging the Juneautown residents on the east side and resulting in two other bridges being destroyed and including the threatened use of a cannon. Tension remained until December of 1845 and the formation of the city of Milwaukee in 1846. On February 1st, 1946, Norway's Trygve Lie was selected as the first ever Secretary General of the United Nations, beginning a long line of names to head the UN that are tricky to pronounce in English. Succeeding Mr. Lie was the even harder to pronounce Dag Hammarskjöld of Sweden. Next up to the plate was a diplomat with a succinct first name consisting of only a single letter, U Thant of Burma, now Myanmar. After U came the more pedestrian-sounding Kurt Waldheim, although this man has been rumored to have been a war criminal during World War II. From 1992 to 1996, the UN was headed by an Egyptian named Boutros Ghali. Kofi Annan and Ban Ki-moon sound almost plain by comparison. As the UN represents all nations, we would expect a rich variety of names from all over the world and take pleasure in that variety. As a question for my students and subscribers, which event from this past week in history would you most like to learn more about? Please let me know in the comment section below this video. If you liked this video and would like to receive notification of new videos, please feel welcome to subscribe to History in Headlines and become one of our patrons. Your viewership is much appreciated. For image, audio, and other credits and attributions for components of the individual videos in this compilation, please see the descriptions of their respective videos, which are linked to in this video's description.